Hi everyone, welcome to OncoDaily TV. My name is Ina. I am your host for today. As you know, March is Multiple Myeloma Awareness Month, dedicated to raising awareness to the second most common blood cancer. On this occasion, I'm really honored to be speaking with Julie, a cancer survivor whose journey with multiple myeloma is both deeply personal and incredibly inspiring. As she went through this difficult journey of treatment, she's now in sustained remission without medication but continues to live with this diagnosis daily. And Julie is here to share what this journey has taught her about resilience, about family support, hope, and spirituality. Julie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, during the height of COVID, you were dealing with unusual symptoms that in the future led to your diagnosis. Can you take us back to that moment when anemia turned into a cancer diagnosis? How did you receive the news and were your feelings?
For more than a month, I felt extremely tired. I had food aversions, lost my appetite, and even lost a little weight. So I went to my gastroenterologist thinking it was stomach related. And after an endoscopy ruled everything out on his end, he ordered blood work and then discovered I was anemic. So at that point, he sent me to a hematologist. And that's when things started really rolling that led to my myeloma diagnosis. The hematologist did some additional testing over the course of a couple of weeks, and then a bone marrow biopsy confirmed the diagnosis.
And what were you feeling when you received the news of your diagnosis? Like keeping in mind that multiple myeloma is considered treatable diagnosis, but not a curable one. What were your thoughts initially?
Well, when he told me I had multiple myeloma, I had never heard of this. And I assumed it was a type of blood cancer, of course. And my first reaction was, tell me whatever I need to do to get through this, and I'll do it. I assumed it was something curable, but only after he referred me to a multiple myeloma specialist. And I did learn more about the disease, and my worries really became more about my diagnosis of high risk myeloma and wondering how long I would sustain remission before relapsing and what all that meant.
Can you dive deeper into what your treatment plan looked like initially and what did you have to undergo uh, before like joining the trial and receiving the medication that initially helped you?
Well, it was a scary time. So after my diagnosis with high risk myeloma, um, I understood that it could mean shorter remissions, but I certainly didn't expect them to last less, just a couple of months. I had aggressive disease and I relapsed 3 times within the first year after my diagnosis. And so after the standard of care regimens really failed to sustain my remission, I became more anxious. And I immersed myself in learning as much as I could about the disease. I sought second, third, even fourth opinions from myeloma experts. It was during the height of COVID, the pandemic, and the silver lining was that the medical rules at that time allowed me to have telehealth appointments with these specialists around the country. So I found strength speaking with, utilizing some of the foundations that work with myeloma patients, the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, Health Tree, the International Myeloma Foundation. And I spoke with a nurse navigator at the MMRF, and I had a myeloma coach at Health Tree. So the nurse navigator in particular, Grace, she was familiar with the standard treatments and also knowledgeable about the latest clinical trials.
So, after 3 lines of therapy and multiple relapses, your cancer continued to return. And what was that emotional roller coaster like for you? What were you feeling when, as you mentioned, the remissions were really short?
It was living with uncertainty, you know, at the time that first year. And I really had to become more spiritual, and I exercised as much as I could. I meditated every morning. which became a ritual for me to kind of reduce the anxiety during that time of uncertainty.
So after that, you already mentioned that clinical trials became a critical part of your journey, including the one
Yes.
where only 5 slots were available. And what did it mean to you to secure one of the limited spots for this clinical trial, which then led to remission for you?
So that was the second clinical trial I participated in. The first one, both of these trials were with bispecific antibodies, where they use your body's own immune system to kill the myeloma cells. But each one had a different target on the myeloma cell. So I responded initially to the first trial, but then I relapsed after 2 cycles. So I was grateful when my doctor told me that there was another clinical trial option at Mount Sinai with another bispecific with a different target and that I was eligible, but there were only 5 slots, and he encouraged me to take it. I was unsure. I was anxious, and he said to me, "Why don't you look at the glass half full?" So I stepped back and I thought about that, and I trusted him completely. So I took the slot, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
It's really refreshing and inspiring to see you being so hopeful and listening to your doctor. And good job to the doctor who kind of did a good job of convincing you to really join this trial, not giving up, not stepping back. It's really amazing to hear. And today you are in remission without medication, but you still live with daily uncertainty. What does living with this incurable diagnosis looks for you day to day basis? Like what is different from before?
Well, I have to say my days are not filled with uncertainty. I'm grateful. I have a full life. I enjoy golf, pickleball, walking. I work out in the gym. And I, above all, the love and support of my husband and my family. And I'm really enjoying life's special moments. My son just got married in
That's
October last year, and I feel blessed.
congratulations.
Yeah, to have my family and friends all together for life's milestones is really special for me in my life now. But, of course, there are reminders that I'm a member of this special club. I'm followed every 3 months with labs and visits with my myeloma team, and I get bi-yearly imaging studies and annual bone marrow biopsies and IVIG infusions every 2 months to boost my immune system. So that's where I am now in my life. I'm very grateful. I've been off of medication. My last treatment on the clinical trial was December 1st, 2022. So I am grateful for having the opportunity to be in this clinical trial and credit my doctor and Mount Sinai for saving my life. So
Yes, that's truly amazing. I mean, you were in remission for 4 years. So from yeah, that's amazing. That's such good news. And I have to say you look great now. As you mentioned that throughout your diagnosis and your treatment, you leaned heavily on healthy lifestyle, on fitness, on medication and listening to your body. Can you tell us how staying physically active and navigating through your health helped you to deal with the challenges of cancer diagnosis? And how did you find the strength to be physically active?
well, exercise has always been part of my life, and I believe it's an important part of therapy, both mental and physical health. So I took walks. Rode, I think I mentioned, rode a stationary bike. Even during my stem cell transplant, I walked as best I could. I walked the halls, but at the same time, I had to listen to my body and rested when I needed to do that. Um, so to me, that was part of my therapy.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what about
Yeah.
the medication? Have you always been into medication, or is it something you dived deeper after your diagnosis?
Meditation, I had never meditated before, but I've never experienced this sort of anxiety in my life before either, and I thought I would give it a try. So I had, some meditation apps I would listen to each morning as part of my routine before I even got out of bed, and I found that was very helpful, and I also became more spiritual with some of my reading material.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear that these things helped ease in your anxiety, help you with your day to day like uncertainty. And Julia, I know that you mentioned that people who were by your side throughout your whole treatment, like your husband and your nurse navigator, they played a key role in your journey. And you even call your nurse navigator your angel. Can you please tell us how their support shaped your strength and outlook?
Yes, my nurse navigator at the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, her name was Grace. She is compassionate. She's an experienced myeloma nurse, and she had many years of clinical experience before she joined the MMRF. So the first year after I was diagnosed, I had multiple conversations with her. She gave me the names of some of the top myeloma specialists I could reach out to for second opinions. She helped me understand the treatment options and side effects that were presented to me from the myeloma specialists. And she sent me research studies to read. But mostly, what's most important, she truly cared about my emotional well being. So we had a nice connection there.
Yeah. I think it's really important for healthcare workers to have this empathy because that's what makes
Yeah.
us human. That's what
Hmm.
differentiates doctors and AI and all these new technologies, the empathy. So I'm really glad that the nurse that you had to work with throughout your diagnosis was really that person for you. And what about your family members? You specifically mentioned your husband's support. How did they deal with this?
Well, that first year, my husband came with me to every appointment after I was diagnosed, and he took thorough notes. I still have him come with me to the bone marrow biopsies, as long as he doesn't tell me the size of the needle. Um, and my adult son and daughter who lived nearby were really supportive. And it meant so much to me to spend time with them then. During COVID, we were isolated. So taking walks together, hiking, we were social distancing at points. But I really cherished those moments, even when we had to social distance.
Yeah, that's amazing. Having the support
Yeah.
of your loved ones is the best thing that someone can have, especially in this like diagnosis. And you know that many people, like as you mentioned, you were unaware, are unaware of this diagnosis, that are unaware of the second most common blood cancer. What do you wish more people understand and know about this disease?
Well, as you said, the second most common blood cancer, and I had never heard of it. There's about 36,000 people diagnosed every year with this. But although it's not considered curable for most patients, it is treatable, and people can live long, full lives. I know people in our myeloma community who've lived with it for 25 or 30 years.
So, your story, as we heard, is one of perseverance and gratitude despite uncertainty. What advice would you like to give to someone who is newly diagnosed or facing a relapse or is in the same path as you are, as you were once?
Yeah. Well, one of the most encouraging things I share, I coach patients. I share how many more treatment options we have today. There's new therapies that are being approved. It's really unprecedented right now, what's happening with research with myeloma. When I was diagnosed in 2020, I received a 3-drug regimen followed by a stem cell transplant, which was pretty standard. Today, there's 4-drug regimens that are given prior to stem cell. There's CAR T therapy. There's bispecific antibodies, these using your body's own immune system to fight the disease. These were just once only available in clinical trials, and now some are FDA approved. So, the other thing I want to mention, though, at the same time, having more options can feel overwhelming. So I encourage patients to get second or third opinions from myeloma specialists. It's a heterogeneous disease, and hearing different perspectives could help patients really make informed decisions and also really consider clinical trials as part of their treatment plan as an
Yeah,
option.
that's a great advice. And you mentioned you're coaching patients. How did that happen? Can you please tell us the story of how did you decided to dive into coaching?
I felt that I wanted to give back to other patients, and if I could help other people, I feel that would be quite gratifying if I could just give back and help other people because I know how difficult it was, especially at the beginning. And Health Tree, one of the platforms I utilize quite a bit, has a coaching program where volunteers could go through training and coach other patients. So it's wonderful to be able to share my knowledge with other patients that way.
Yes, that's amazing. I didn't hear about that. And I think it's a great initiative, both for you, as you mentioned, you would like to give back, and both for the patients who are dealing with the diagnosis. And sometimes I think these patients think that no one can understand them beside people who have the same thing. So it's really amazing that you are doing this. And in honor of the Multiple Myeloma Awareness Month, what message do you hope your story leaves with others living with chronic or incurable disease who can just watch this interview? What should they get from it in general? Not specifically for this diagnosis, but for all chronic disease and oncological diagnosis.
Well, I feel that resilience is important. I feel that having a positive attitude, and as my doctor once said to me, look at the glass half full.
Mhm.
I had such uncertainty at the beginning, but and learn as much as you can. Read as much as you can, learn about the disease so you're educated and understand what your options are because you are a team member with whatever physicians you're working with on your journey. And your opinion matters. And if you are uncertain about your treatment, don't be shy about reaching out to other experts in the field for other opinions as well, because knowledge is power.
Yeah, I really like the thought that you said that this is a teamwork. So not only doctor is like curing the disease, but patient is also involved in this process and they should work together, understand together, and of course, cure the disease. Julie, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story with us today. Your honesty about living with this diagnosis and the strength that you found through everything, through your doctor, through your lifestyle, family, and spirituality is truly inspiring.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Stories like yours remind us why awareness matters. And in honor of Multiple Myeloma Awareness Month, we encourage everyone to learn more. As you mentioned, knowledge is power, to support more ongoing research, and to stand alongside those living with this disease. Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching OncoDaily TV. We will see you next time.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to OncoDaily on YouTube. Hit the bell icon to stay updated.